Bellator as we know it is officially dead after it was announced today by Ariel Helwani and a few other sources that the PFL will be discontinuing the Bellator brand. There will be no more Bellator events going forward at all. There is the Bellator belt that is up for grabs this next weekend on January 25th between Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes. But aside from that, Bellator is gone. So in this video, we're going to go into the details of that, and we're going to talk about what this means for the PFL going forward, because they did make some other changes as well. So stick around to hear what's changing in the PFL. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Before we get into the video, guys, please make sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, all that good YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you want access to bonus content, become a channel member through the link in the description of this video or the join button on our channel homepage. Thank you very much. Back to the video. Okay, so as you can read it right there on this post from Home of Fight, Bellator is dead. Gone. The second biggest promotion in MMA for the longest time behind the UFC is gone. And in hindsight, the PFL acquiring Bellator was the end of Bellator, even though they tried to keep it going for roughly a year, but it looks as though that is not the case anymore. So here we have Ariel Helwani today via the Ariel Helwani Show explaining the changes to Bellator, such as the season format and also the change in the Bellator usage.
Right now, I could tell you on Monday, January 13th at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time, Bellator is dead. Bellator, as we know it, is no more. Bellator is dead. You will not see Bellator events anymore. And in fact, if you have looked at Don Davis's social media over the last couple of weeks, he refers to things as all PFL. And if you look at that event on January the 25th, you will see that other than the picture of the belt and other than, in the press release it says Bellator lightweight title, there's no other mention of Bellator. Bellator as we know it is dead. And so this is what's going to happen. PFL Champion Series events. Those events are going to be headlined by title fights. PFL is going to start having its own champions, not just season champions, not just tournament champions, its own champion. Now, what is unclear, and I've talked to maybe 5 sources with very intimate knowledge of what is going on, unclear how they will crown those champions. Meaning, does Usman Nurmagomedov become the PFL lightweight champion after January 25th if he beats Paul Hughes, or does Paul Hughes become the PFL lightweight champion, or are the tournament winners from last year the PFL champions? My hunch says, given what they get paid, and given how everything is structured, the Bellator champions would then become the PFL champions. And so how they are going to structure it is they're going to have these PFL Champion Series events, which are essentially just cards headlined by champions. The PFL season format is no more. Single elimination tournament. There's no more standings. There's no more points or anything like that. Single elimination tournament, Grand Prix style, if you will. The winner of that tournament, single elimination tournament, gets $500,000. So it's a little bit different than the past. Like, you don't win a belt or anything. You might win some like Fakakta belt, but you're not the champion of any sort of division. It's the pot at the end of the rainbow, which is $500,000. Now, what's unclear to me at this time, if you win that, what else do you get? Do you get a shot at the champion?
So there's Ariel not so briefly explaining. I know it's very convoluted, but there's just a lot going on here, and Ariel explained most of that pretty well. So a few points that I want to touch on. First off, they're going to have a matchmaker format, which is really, really important. We've talked about this on this channel before, how the matchmaker format that the UFC does, where you can make the fights that people want to see, is the way that you have to do it. This tournament style, season style, does not work for fighting. It doesn't work. You end up with matchups that nobody gives a rat's ass about, and you have to have matchups that people care about because the stories matter. As much as people want to say, we just want to see the best fight the best, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Israel Adesanya did not deserve a title shot to return from a loss, but he did. He got a fight against DDP. We were pumped about the buildup, and we got a sick fight out of it. If we're in the PFL format, we don't get that fight. And the problem with that is you end up with a bunch of missed matchups that have nothing to do with money have nothing to do with the fighter's health. They specifically have to do with the gridlock that the tournament format creates. I'm glad that they are abandoning the season format and going to a Grand Prix style. I still don't agree with that all the way, especially because it doesn't really mean anything. There's like just tournaments for the sake of tournaments with no belt attached. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so they're dropping the prize of that tournament from $1 million to $500,000. They're abandoning the season format. They are now doing the matchmaker format. And they're going to have like weight class champions, not season champions and super fight champions and this, that, and the other. They're actually just having champions of divisions, which is really interesting. Does that mean that Francis Ngannou is their heavyweight champion right now? Does that mean Usman Nurmagomedov, or the winner of Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes, would be the lightweight champion? Does that mean Dakota Dacheva is the women's flyweight champion? We'll see what happens, but PFL is just such a fucking mess. And this is a slight step in the right direction, I think, but I don't think it's enough to stop this ship from sinking. The Bellator fighters have complained time and time again about the communication and the negotiating from PFL. And for example, here we have Corey Anderson, former UFC light heavyweight, current Bellator light heavyweight champion. He says, imagine being the champion of an organization, chilling on the couch, and your wife walks in and tells you, did you see this? Bellator is dead now. And all you can do is shrug your shoulders in confusion because you still haven't heard a thing. Yeah, that was me. Now, this comment right here actually poses a really good question is, do these fighters get cut? Are they PFL fighters now? I think it means that they're under the PFL banner, I would assume, because it was all the same parent company. Corey Anderson is not the first person that's spoken up about this. I've made videos about this before of Patchy Mix, Patricio Pitbull, Chris Cyborg, and Corey Anderson, amongst others, complaining about not getting fights as champions in Bellator. So this really doesn't bode well for the PFL, this aspect of the communication, but I'm glad to see them abandoning this season format. That's their change going into 2025, moving away from the season format, partially because they're still going to do some sort of tournament, and then they're going to do the matchmaker style as well. I think 2026, they abandon tournaments altogether, and they try to do it like the UFC does it. So those are all steps in the right direction, and it looks like they're maybe starting to secure some broadcasting stuff as well, maybe even getting away from ESPN, because technically the Bellator stuff has its own deals. It's like a completely different entity in terms of distribution. And so it's kind of the same way if you were to look at WWE and compare how SmackDown is on one network and Raw is now on Netflix. It would be something like that where they have different rosters, different distribution rights, and all of that. But it looks like they might be even moving away from ESPN altogether, because this event between Paul Hughes and Usman Nurmagomedov, the Dagestan versus Ireland 2 Road to Dubai, it's a fucking long name, is going to be on Max. So that's interesting because HBO gave up on boxing and Bellator before PFL even bought them, but now they're doing this with PFL. So it's kind of interesting. Shout out to Cage Side Press for this post. I'm not really sure where they're going here, but it's at least going somewhere. I don't know where this leads for the PFL. I'm still holding true to my assumption that they're out of business by 2030, but we'll see. This is a step kind of in the right direction. In my opinion, they're being led by an absolute dummy in Don Davis. In terms of combat sports, I'm not trying to say he's a dumb guy or anything. Don Davis consistently puts himself as the good guy compared to Dana White, talking about how they care about the fighters and all that stuff. And it really doesn't even seem like the guy cares about the sport. I mean, this is him getting asked what his favorite MMA fight of all time was.
Cole, what is Don's favorite all-time MMA fight? So Don, you have a night out, you go home and you're just like, man, I want to watch a fight. What's the first fight you're going to find?
So people who are doctors don't watch medical shows. People who are lawyers don't watch legal shows on TV. I'm aware of everything that's going on because it's important for business. But I don't want to watch other people's MMA shows for enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? I get a lot of MMA, right? You know, so I don't sit there and say, let's kick up and watch me a good KSW. You know, this is not, it would never cross my head, right? So to me, I'm aware of everything that's going on from a business standpoint, but I would never sit there and say, that's my relaxation away from work. This would be, I'm working, I'm taking in what's working for them, I'm understanding what's going on. But if I'm away from work, I'm away from work. P.S., I'm never away from work. You know, building a company is hard. You know, I'm on year 7 of no days off, no vacation. I'm just that 62-year-old entrepreneur that's just pain, challenge. I'm on.
What's the best fight you've ever watched? Even in the building, what's the best fight you've seen?
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to answer it differently. It's boxing for me. I grew up, I'm a little bit older, so I grew up boxing. And, and so to me, I was very much shaped by Hagler Hearns, Tyson, Duran, Sugar Ray. I was very much shaped by boxing. And so for me...
So he can't name an MMA fight.
And I'm pretty close to Mike Tyson.
So he can't name an MMA fight. I'll stop it there. But this guy is not somebody that loves MMA and can tell you off the top of his head what's going on in the sport as a whole. It's quite literally a chore for him. And I'm not trying to glaze Dana White, because I have had a lot of negative things to say about Dana White and the way he runs it at UFC, the way he treats fighters, the way he lies to the media, whatever. At least he's not this. At least he's actually passionate about the company he's running, about the sport that he's a part of. And this is terrible, terrible, terrible from Don Davis. I can't believe that this is the guy that is saying he's going to take down Dana White, surpass Dana White. I mean, this is crazy shit, man. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I don't see the vision, but right now I am not seeing shit. I am seeing a ton of money being thrown at ideas put forth by this guy that does not understand the sport or what he's doing. And I'm super disappointed. I'm glad that they're finally making changes, but I'm disappointed in the direction and the handling of PFL, because they had a chance to be great. Now it looks terrible. I mean, the only things that people say about PFL now is they overpaid Francis, they're running out of money, and this Don Davis guy is dumb. Like basically everything that I've said. And that they're going to be out of business, and rubbing it in Ariel's face that he promoted them so much. Because you know what? As much as I do like Ariel, he did glaze the fuck out of PFL, which in hindsight looks like he was just doing that to get at Dana. So let me know what you guys think. What's the future of the PFL look like? Are you going to miss the Bellator brand? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you want access to bonus content, become a channel member today by clicking the join button on our channel homepage or the link down below this video. If you're interested in some non-MMA content from me, go check out my podcast, What's Up Bro, with Wyatt and Bo, in the link down below. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.